Ship's log, celestial date 218.253.17. Dagger and I have met up with a pilot named Harrow who shares our interest in this world, Vale, and whatever system is defending it and was used to create the bioengineered atmosphere in the narrow band of habitable zone on this planet. And we have found an object down below that we think may be a vault, and the three of us are getting ready to go down and explore it. Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is Starforged Alpha Cluster. We are now on our 31st session, guys. We've done way better than Wiglaf did, and I think part of that is attributable to me being a more experienced player of Ironsworn and Starforged, and so I have a little bit better control over what I'm doing. I think another thing that contributes to it is the 4 wits. You use wits a lot in this game. And yes, heart is important. And Wiglaf was good at heart, but his wits weren't so great. And you keep getting lost in expeditions and, having trouble on delves when you have low wits. And Krista's does really well on that. I think the other thing that's attributable to it is just the experience. At this point, in 25 sessions, I think Wiglaf had earned maybe 4 or 5 experience. Krista's earned what? 12, 14, 15 experience. 16 experience she's earned, and she spent 15. So we have so many more assets than Wiglaf did. And we started out with an extra one because we started out with the ship, and we've upgraded some of these assets, and also the assets are just working really well together. I mean, I think I did a better job of picking assets that stack. So between Lore Hunter and Scavenger and Explorer and a Survey Bot, she's incredibly good at Expeditions, which is like the backbone of this game. Expeditions, combat, and scene challenges are sort of the basic ways of advancing. And she's incredibly good at the expedition part, which is what we're doing a lot of. And we haven't had a lot of combat. She tries to stay out of the combat because, of course, she's not as good at Wiglaf at combat. She's not so great at the iron. Her edge is okay. She does have pretty good edge. And I think also just the companions, the connections, and them giving you bonuses also help an awful lot. But I think that a lot of the success of this character isn't really... I don't think it even is that much my extra experience with the game. It's really more that certain tweaks that Sean made to Starforged have just made it easier to survive and progress. And of course, she didn't get caught in an evil nightmare. So we are in the Burning Gyre, and I've done a little bit of work. I tweaked this path. The only reason I did is because the symbol for a vault on the planet goes diagonally in this hex, and the path was coming through here and you couldn't see it, so I just moved it so it looks like that. Doesn't really matter which hex we're in. The drifts really aren't hex based anyway, right? These are just the anchorages along the drift, and it doesn't really matter which hexes you go through. It's just here visually for us to see. So we are here with both Dagger and this other guy, Harrow, who is a laborer but is for some reason exploring this world, and he's convinced, if we look at the connection here, he is trying to refute the fact that life naturally occurs on Vale. He thinks that this is supposed to say precursor civilization, i.e. the probably the Forgotten Ones. Krista thinks this is a Forgotten One vault, so I think whatever this vault is, it's probably going to have some of this green metal in it. But first we're going to have to actually build the vault and figure out what it's made of. And then I also want to give it a location theme, which we're going to have to roll up. But first let's start with the base of like where it is located, everything. This is planet side because we sort of already figured that out in the narrative. It's not in the orbit. So on the planet, it is a typical site of limited scope. Okay, so that means it's going to be a dangerous delve, right? Because it's limited of scope. And that's been typical for us. Its form is some kind of a machine again, right? So remember the one that was walking along the surface? nicks and was carving out stuff. So maybe there's another mobile vault walking around the surface in the habitable band. I'm picturing this habitable band being around the equator, right? Maybe between the two tropics, as it were. So the tropical zone in the equator, and then everything sort of north of 23 or south of 23 degrees is uninhabitable. It's breathable, but it's like too cold or something. And this thing is walking around and is terraforming, or at least that's what they think. Maybe it's stopped, right? Because if we look at the planet, the life is scarce. It also has a large moon. Um, so maybe this machine is stopped, and that's why life is scarce, that things are dying because the bioengineered environment is starting to fall apart or something like that. So it is a machine. Its shape is, oh, we rolled twice. So let's do it again. All right, not rolling 4 times. Geometric, a ring or torus, and spiky. So it's some sort of a ring, and it's spiky. Okay. And then material. So now I think we're going to choose the material. And the reason I want to do this is because, where are the derelicts? Not the derelicts, vaults. The reason I want to choose the material is because we've determined that this is a Forgotten One vault, right? And we know that they use metallic industrial. So I'm just going to put that in here. And this is the green metal again, on the outside at least. It is a green metal, sort of this greenish steel that the Forgotten Ones tend to use. So this is a Veil Vault of the Forgotten Ones, and it is down somewhere in the equator region of the planet in some sort of a machine. And since it's a ring, I don't actually think it moves. I think it's just sort of, is it? It's planet side, but is it floating in the atmosphere? Maybe floating above? I think that's actually pretty likely. Let's ask the Oracle and see if it is. Is it floating? What happened? Come on, click. There we go. It is, yes, it is floating. So I'm going to say it's a floating machine, right? Hovering, right? So it's hovering about I don't know how high. 10,000 feet, so 10,000 meters, no, well, too many, 5,000 meters above the surface. Right, so it's in the air. That's pretty high. Let's call it 1,000 meters, a kilometer. Okay, so 1,000 meters above the surface. And it's sort of floating there, and it was responsible. It was probably flying through the atmosphere around this band, but it's stopped, and it's just hovering there. And so they detect this thing, and they say, okay, we're going to fly down to it. And so since he's got a single ship, and we don't have a shuttle on the ship yet, what Krista does is she opens up the docking, the dock part at the top of the ship. She opens up the docking hatch and lets him land his single-man snub ship in the Stormswept, and they close it up, and then he's going to come up into the pilot section. So if you look at the map of the Stormswept, the interior, right? There's room for 3 people. And so we have the pilot's chair, right? And then we'll have Dagger here and Harrow here. Now, I guess, I didn't really recap the last session, so let's just do that quickly. We've been flying through the drift here in the Burning Gyre. We started out in a derelict here in the Timberwolf. We found out that there was some sort of a disease that made everybody sick, which is why the crew of the Timberwolf weren't able to get away from the anomaly before it ripped the back half of the ship off. Krista then left the Timberwolf, got back into her ship. We then flew to Omicron Alpha, which added another star to our star chart on our fragment of the Ophion that we swear iron vows on. And then we came to a Iota Vetheli, which is a forming star, and we're clipped by a rogue asteroid. But managed not to suffer too much damage. We then flew to Vale, and this is where we met Harrow. And now Krista wants to, since she's curious, she wants to explore this site. So we're going to need to set up a progress, and we also have to figure out what theme are we going to have in addition to the I think the vault theme is going to be mechanical, guys, right? Because it said that the vault is mechanical, right? It's a hovering machine. I think the theme is going to be mechanical. So let me create a mechanical vault theme roll table, or I might already have one. Hang on, let me see. Where do I have that? Oracle arrays. I do not have a mechanical vault, so I will set one up. And wait a minute, is Nix? Oh, it is. All right, so let's just import this. So I'm going to rename this. This is just going to be the Veil Vault features. And Veil Vault perils. And we are good to go. So this is going to be a dangerous delve, so let me set up the map, and I will bring you guys back. All right, so I've set up the Veil Vault delve progress chart, and we are here on our regular delve kind of setup, and we need to get to the exterior first. So Krista is going to fly down through the atmosphere, and what they're going to try to do is, I guess they're going to try to sort of dock with this vault to see if there's like a landing platform or something like that. So first what she's going to do as they fly into the atmosphere and they approach it, she's going to use her scanners to see if she can scan this thing and locate like a landing site, a place where you can land like a landing platform. So let's roll secure advantage, and I think it's just wits. I don't think we get any pluses, so let's just roll it, and we get a miss, or we can do a strong hit. Let's burn momentum and get a strong hit. We get +2 momentum, and we had +1 on our next move, and we get what we needed, right? So she finds a landing site. So now we're going to face danger, and so she says, okay, over there, it looks like we can land right there. You see that spot? And the other two say, yeah, we see it. And she says, all right, I'm going to bring her in. Keep your eye out for anything that might attack us, just because this thing does have defenses, right? So I think if we get another miss here, it might shoot at us or something like that. So let's face danger and see what happens. So she tries to land the ship without getting caught up by the defenses of this thing. And I think she's using mobility here, so this is edge, and we get a strong hit. We take +1 momentum, and we successfully land. So now we're going to do for the vault, we're going to do the outer first look. So as they're flying in, what do they see as they're about to land? They see that it is scaled for outsized beings. So it is scaled for the Forgotten Ones, I guess, these giant insects. It is scaled for outsized beings, and so they land, and then the entrance is almost big enough that you could fly the smaller ship through it, and the exosuit will fit. So Krista says, all right, it looks like the exosuit's going to fit in here, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. You guys are going to stay behind me, okay? And so Dagger is going to come, and Harrow is going to come because they're both interested, and so on. So that means we'll get to use the +1 from Dagger for her exploration. This is going to give us a lot of bonuses. This should hopefully be a pretty good delve. And Krista gets into her suit assets. So she gets into her exosuit. So we're in an Explorer. When we explore a waypoint, that'll be useful. The exosuit will be useful. We don't need shields. So we close that. Iris is with us. We don't need the starship here. Scavenger and Lore Hunter might be of use as well. So we're going to go inside and see what we find first. So she gets into her exosuit. The other guys get behind her. Does Harrow have a gun? Does he have any weapons? Let's check. I think it's likely. Is Harrow armed? Yes. So he has, let's say he's got a slug thrower. Dagger has a stun gun. Krista doesn't she keeps her guns in her holsters, but she's in the rig, which has a vibroblade on the right hand and a blaster, like an Iron Man, like repulsor ray, whatever, blaster ray, particle cannon that comes out of the glove of her left hand. And so she's going to lead the way. She says, "Stay behind me." And she gets to this outsized entrance that's big enough that she can easily go through it with her exosuit, even though the exosuit makes her like almost 10 feet high. And what does she see on the inner first look? Complex textures and patterns. And we see it twice. So, okay, so she sees these complex. So she enters this area, and what's the first like interior feature? She sees an ascending or descending path. Okay, so she comes in, and there is a ramp, and this is way up at the top, and there is a ramp that descends down into the darkness. She switches her lights on. She tells Iris to go ahead, and they see this ramp, and along the base of the ramp are these complex patterns of different sorts of tiles of lighter and darker green metal. And that's what she sees in this section. So let me just move this a little bit. And then we will draw in our ramp. And let's get rid of this line. And so this is going to be a descending ramp. And that's where we start. Okay. And so she says, "Okay, come on." And you know what? I'm not actually going to give her Dagger's bonuses here because Dagger is behind her. So we're only going to use Iris's bonus. And they're going to quietly move in through here and see if they can get through here to the next section. So they're going to move through the ramp and see where they get to next. Let us undertake an expedition. And we roll wits, staying vigilant, and Iris is going to turn on her lights and her scanners and help us by leading the way. And we get a weak hit. We reach a waypoint, make progress, but it's costly, suffer moves, or we face a pearl. Well, you know what's going to happen. We're going to face a pearl. That's a lot more interesting than doing a suffer move. And hang on, let me... just hang on, guys. Let me change the defaults on this drawing. I changed it to blue because I was doing the paths in space, so just hang on. Of course, you didn't really have to hang on because it's quick, right? All right, so we now have the colors right, and now we're going to... All right, so we're coming to a new area. So now we're going to use the roll table. And do we find a vault feature or a mechanical feature? We roll. And we get a mechanical feature. So the next section, we're going to go to the location themes mechanical feature. And we get a 61, machines single-mindedly executing a function or program. So this is going to be some sort of a... so what's going to be in here? What kind of peril is it going to be? So let's roll the peril as well. And it is vault peril. So let's go to the vaults and see what the peril is. And we get radioactive hotspot. Okay. So I think this section is some sort of a power like engineering. So like let's say this is going to be a nuclear generator. So it's radioactive in here. And there are robots in here that are going about the business of tending it as far as they're concerned. They're insectoid robots that are walking on like 6 legs. And they have a pair of arms, almost like crab claws, and they're moving levers, and they're changing the power generation levels up and down, and so they're executing the single-mindedly, right? So I don't think that they're probably going to attack these guys. I don't think so. But we do have a peril here, which is that it's radioactive. So Krista and Iris can move through here, but the other guys can't. So if Krista tries to shut this down, the machines are probably going to attack. And we don't need to shut it down, right? We're just trying to find out what the story is, what its purpose is, and that sort of thing. So we're just trying to explore it. So I think Krista is going to radio back to the other two and say, you guys can't come in here. There's a nuclear generator here. Let me see if there's another way through. And just stay here and I will radio you if I can find another path. Right? So what she's going to do is see if she can find another way through off to the side here. So she's going to come in here with Iris. And now she doesn't have her companions with her, right? Her connections with her, which means she can't use any of their bonuses for anything. She's going to have to see if she can find a way to shut this down or else get to them another way. So we'll just see, like, maybe she'll just go by herself, and we'll see how that goes. So, are these guys going to agree, or are they going to fight with her about that? I think this is a compel move, right? So the kind of the way I run this is a weak hit, so she's got to overcome the danger. Now the exosuit is proof against something like radiation, so I don't think she has to worry about that. I think she has to worry about whether her companions are going to try to come anyway. So she's going to try to convince them over the radio. She says, guys, you've got to stay back. There's a nuclear generator in here. I don't want you to get hurt. And they said, well, you shut it down, right? So she's going to try and charm them into letting her go on alone. And so she's going to compel. Now, we don't get any bonuses for having them be connections or a bond, which is sort of annoying to me. I feel like you should get bonuses for that. But anyway, we're rolling heart. She's okay at heart. Let's see how it goes. And okay, she gets a strong hit. They do what you want and agree. So the two of them say okay, and they go back, and they head backward because they don't want to get hit by the radiation. And they say, well, all right, we'll stay back up the hallway. And so they're kind of up here, waiting to hear from her. Okay, call us if you need help, etc., etc. So so Chris is then going to continue, and Iris finds like an exit. They go through. The robots are just pulling levers and pushing buttons and switching dials and looking at readouts, and they're completely ignoring her. Yeah, this sort of reminds me a little bit of in Mass Effect. There are these little things that are taking care of the Citadel, and they basically ignore you unless you attack them or something. And I think this is the same kind of deal. So now she's going to continue, and we're going to go to the next room. So let's have it go out, I don't know, this way. Come on. Why is it not? Oh, now it's doing it. That's just lag. Okay. Yeah, they've been having a little bit of trouble with Foundry. Next section. Or hopefully we'll get to the next section. So we're going to undertake an expedition. And we're staying vigilant, rolling wits, and we get +1 from the robot. So we get a strong hit. We reach a waypoint and vision the location and mark progress. We don't get any momentum, so we just mark progress. And now we're going to envision the waypoint. So let's check again features. We're going to use the descriptor and focus feature. So let's go to descriptor focus. And we get inhabited liquid. Okay, so I think, to me, what makes the most sense here is this is the water. This is water. This is the cooling chamber for the radioactive rods, right? The water that cools the radiation, and it's probably pretty warm in here. And this is obviously not the way to go. So Krista says, okay, you know, this isn't the way to go. Let's try another entrance, and goes back to the nuclear generator room because this is obviously not how we want to go. Or do we want to head through here? There's really nothing to. I don't think there's anything to explore. in the cooling chamber. I think we got to go another direction. I think that makes the most sense. So she's going to head this way. Whoops, no. This way. And I'm putting it up here because I think we're going to be going into the inner sanctum pretty soon, since you do that after 6 progress. So she comes back out of the generator room, and she moves out a different hallway and heads into another section. And she radios back and says, "It only got worse. I ended up in a cooling chamber with all the nuclear rods in the water. Stay back. I'm going to keep looking for a way for you guys to get in here." And she's going to undertake her expedition again. And again, we're rolling wits. And let me look at the assets here because she's an explorer. We haven't explored a waypoint, so there hasn't really been anything to explore yet. And we get a weak hit, so there's going to be a peril here. So what do we find? Vault feature. We get 6. This is going to be an actual vault feature. And so we get a transition into the sanctum. So she ends up in the sanctum. So let me edit this and I'll bring you back. All right, so she actually makes it down another corridor, and it opens up into another room. So now we're in the sanctum, and we're going to look at what we found here. And we get pods or chambers with preserved corpses. Well, we have seen this before. So this is going to be a, I don't know what we want to call it, a specimen preservation chamber. So once again, it's this deep chamber that goes down through this, or maybe this one, instead of going downward, actually curves along the whole entire inside of this torus, of this ring, and it's sort of spiraling kind of sideways, you know, like a clock, and they're like all around her on the outer walls of this tube. So picture a tube wrapping around the inside of this vault, and all around the edges of this tube, left and right around her, are a bunch of preserved corpses of a bunch of life forms that she doesn't recognize. And I suspect that these may be the life forms on this planet. So these are specimens or something that were being kept for some reason by the Forgotten Ones. Okay, so that's that, and then there's a peril. Let's see if there's some sort of a feature in here besides this. Oh wait, no, we already did that, right? That's a feature. So what we want to do is the peril. Sorry. Peril is confounding distortions of the time stream. Wait, no, that is incorrect. We're supposed to use the roll table. Sorry guys, I'm a little rusty at doing this. So we're actually supposed to do a story complication here. So let's do the correct thing. So story complication, and we get needed item or resources unavailable. Well, we don't really have, we don't need any particular resource. All right, so I think what this means is that even though she's ended up in the sanctum, this is a dead end. Like, this isn't telling her anything about the purpose of the vault. And this thing, so I think she takes a long time going all the way around this inner sanctum. And she's looking for a way to let her friends in. They're radioing her. They're getting impatient. And she's saying, no, I can't find any other way in. I'm going to just have to go on alone. So let's do it that way, I think. So she's still in the sanctum, but she can't find a way, like an alternate route from this ramp for her friends to get in here. There's no other way out back to another landing platform where they could maybe get the storm swept and fly it around to meet her. She can't find any ways out. It just goes all the way around and brings her back to where she came. So now she's going to try and go out one of the side entrances that goes sort of out along the edge of this torus, but not back toward the generator, so in another direction. So let's prepare to go to another spot. Nope. This is so twitchy. The drawing on this is so twitchy. You can't have it selected or it just reselects itself to draw the shapes. Okay, next section is what we're going to try to do. So we're going to undertake an expedition, and she's just stuck with Iris. So she says, "Look, guys, just wait there. Iris and I will find out what's going on, and I'm recording everything to my data pad using the Titan, so you'll be able to see all the video when I come back." And then she heads to the next section, undertaking an expedition, again +1 with Iris, and we're staying vigilant, and we get another weak hit, so there's going to be another peril. So we gain progress. I actually think this took her a really long time, so we're just going to drop momentum here rather than looking for another peril, because I think it makes sense to charge her some momentum because she spent time walking all around the inside of this thing. So what are we going to find? Vault feature. It is an actual vault feature, and this is the sanctum. 66, a sealed chamber. Okay, so we're going to have to get into the sealed chamber. I think this may be the chamber that is kind of the control center. So what we're going to have to do is try and get in. Okay, so let's think about this. So the door's sealed, and it's powered because the nuclear reactor is working. So she's going to have to figure out a way to get into it. So, so first I think she's going to examine. So let's imagine there's got to be some kind of a weird alien keypad or something, but it's probably not anything like what she's used to. Maybe it's some sort of a jelly substance. Vertically on the wall, you have this almost like a goo, like a jello. It's not sliding out. It's held in place, and the insects or the robots would insert their appendages in here and somehow move them around in the gelatin to try and get it to open. But there's got to be some kind of electronic connections between the gelatin thing and the door. And so Chris is going to try to see if she can examine this thing and figure out if she can get it, like sort of jury rig it. And I think the asset we're going to use here is the lore hunter, the esoteric knowledge. Has she encountered anything like this before, or perhaps read anything about it in the records that Pyro kept? And maybe that will help her figure this out. So we're using +1, and we're rolling wits using expertise. And we get a strong hit. We take +2 momentum and add +1 to our next move. So I think we're going to undertake an expedition here. We're going to undertake it with wits, right? It's similar to doing face danger with wits to like jerry rig it, so it's the same kind of idea, but I think it will then get us the last bit of progress, and then we can make our progress move. So we get +1 on this, and we get +1 for the wits, right? I'm sorry, we get +1 on this. We get +1. Well, I'm not going to give Iris the +1. We get +1 for the move. And that's it, right? I don't think, do we have gather information? We're not gathering information. We're just undertaking an expedition. I guess Iris can help her because it is +wits. I guess that's fair. I mean, it does say to do that. So she says, Iris, shine your light on here, right? And so I think what she figures out is there needs to be like a mechanical arm inserted in here from the robots. And Iris is mechanical, so she's going to have Iris insert its mechanical arm that we've established it has into the jelly and move it in a certain way, whatever way she's remembering from Pyro. So we get 2 pluses here, and we're using wits at +2. I think that makes sense. And we get, oh boy, rolled a 1. We get a strong hit. So what does it turn out that this is? Let's ask, is this the control room? I think that if it is, right, we will learn the purpose of this site and complete it. So let's roll progress. And we get, of course, even with 10 progress, a weak hit. So let's take a look. We finished an expedition. We get an extra tick on our discovery track. So we, with a weak hit as above, but we face a complication at the end, 1 rank lower. So we get 1 tick plus 1, so we get 2 ticks on our discovery track. Boom, boom. And so we're facing a complication or a peril. We're also going to learn the purpose. I think we're going to have to face the peril, and we will only learn the purpose if we overcome the peril. So what is the peril? And I'm using a Vault Sanctum peril here because we're in the Sanctum. Scenes of horrendous violence or death. Okay, so we open the chamber. We're in a control room. And there are a bunch of dead forgotten ones in here. Their exoskeletons are lying around. They're all dead. So we're going to call this a control room with corpses. Right. So they are all dead. And I think that's going to make it difficult to determine the purpose. So there's a bunch of dead things. I think she's going to have to gather information here to determine the purpose of this vault. Right? Even though we got a hit, we ended it. Because there's a peril here, there's hideous violence. So these things were like smashed and destroyed and killed. What were they killed by? This is interesting. We got a weak hit. I think the weak hit entitles us to the purpose, but we also have to figure out why they died, and I think we're going to have to gather information for that. So the purpose of this vault is a conduit to mystical powers. Okay, a mechanical vault that's a conduit to mystical powers. So I think what this means is that in this chamber, these guys are dead, and what she sees is, instead of a mechanical control room, she sees like magical symbols scrawled on the wall. She sees probably empty now, but what would have been like braziers for creating fire, and she sees like an altar and sort of a pentagram on the wall, like a metallic pentagram on the wall or something like that. And so what she sees here is stuff that looks magical, and it almost seems like either somebody magical came in and wiped these guys out, or these guys started mucking around with magic and it killed them. And I think that's probably what happened. So let's do gather information. Is it the case that these guys, does it look like, so she's going to examine this area and see, does it look like these guys were trying to use the magic? Perhaps they found some magic on this planet and were trying to incorporate it into their mechanical stuff and it backfired on them. Or are the Forgotten Ones the generators of the magic itself? Well, like, was this a normal part of the base? Let's gather information and see if we can find out. Rolling wits. And We're not scavenging. So we're just rolling wits. No bonuses. We get a weak hit. So the information provided gives us a new insight. We get +1 momentum. And let's roll a story clue. Because I'm not sure here. Involves a notable person. I don't know how a notable person would be involved here. I'm going to disregard that. Let's ask the Oracle. Did the Forgotten Ones find something magical on this planet and try to use it and it backfired on them? I think that's likely. Yes. So there is something magical on this planet, and these guys tried to, like, took the artifacts that they found, put them onto their vault, onto this mechanical device, and tried to use the magic to power their technology, and it backfired on them. And so Krista, is Krista going to take something? I think Krista's going to try to take something. So what's she going to get? What kind of an item is she going to get? Let's descriptor focus. See if we can get something here. A shrouded viewpoint. Okay. I think she finds a crystal ball. Oh gosh. This is what did in Wiglaf. I think she finds a crystal ball that's intact. The rest of this stuff is mostly destroyed, but she finds intact a crystal ball that maybe you could use to see things in. So some sort of an orb, let's call it. Some kind of a scrying device. And she's going to take it with her and head back out. So now we're going to set a course. And she says, I've found what little there is to find. She's been narrating this as she goes. And she says, I found what I think there is to find. I'm going to be heading back out. And so now she's going to set a course. And we're rolling supply. And we get a miss, but we can burn momentum for a weak hit. Let's do it. We arrive, but face a complication. I think so let me think about this. I think something, I mean, should we do a wig left? Should the crystal ball wake up and try to attack her? I don't necessarily want to kill this character the same way I killed the other character, but huh. Okay. No. I think when she comes out with this ball, this crystal ball, Harrow's going to say, I want that. You agreed that we would share stuff, but you only got one thing, and I would like it. I gave you my information. You owe that to me. And Krista, of course, wants to keep this thing. And so she's going to say, well, wait a minute now. I'm the one who risked life and limb to go in there. And this is the only thing that was salvageable in there, and I gave you a bunch of information in exchange. You're going to get all the video data and everything. So I think I should be the one to keep this. And I think this is a tick of progress because we're interacting with him. And I think we do a compel. And she's trying to charm him, and we'll see if he lets her keep it. Rolling heart. We get a weak hit. All right, so he's going to agree to it, but ask her for something else. So what's he going to ask her for? Let me think about that. Okay, so I think he's going to say, well, like, what are you going to do with that thing? Are you going to study it? And Krista says, well, yeah, we're getting ready to go back into the drift. We're going to have a lot of hours. Dagger and I will study it. And he goes, okay, well, I want to come with you. And she says, well, now wait a minute. Now we're going to the Bloody Breach. And he says, well, I got time. And you're going to take you a couple anchorages to get there, and you're going to study it. I want to study it too. I want to be able to record everything, so you can keep it, but I want to get the data on this thing, right? Because I want to be able to go back to the people I was arguing with and show them this information. I would like to learn about it. So she says, okay, you can stay with me, and he's going to end up back on the Stormswept with her. So I think that works. And now we're almost to the end of this episode, she and Dagger, and they get back onto the Stormswept, and they launch off into the atmosphere. We're now done with this vault. And we go back to the Burning Gyre, and they are ready to continue their expedition to the next anchorage. So I think there's going to be, where are we here on this? Let's complete this. And I think maybe there'll be 2 more waypoints here. Then we cross into Orcus. That'll be the 7th waypoint, and then a couple of shots down, and then we'll see if we can complete our journey. Boy, this is a long quest. Mostly Krista's own fault because she's curious. So she explored 2 different things, a derelict and a vault, that didn't need to be explored, but she thinks they're cool, and so yeah, she's curious. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that little delve into a vault. And until next time, I am Scrapperlack, and this has been Starforged Alpha Cluster.